when I trade, what's most effective for me is trying to capture most of the move. I think you can't blame yourself if, let's say, you buy stock. Let's see, something like this happens. And you identify this kind of buying spot, kind of like, I don't know, let's say you buy stock here, okay, because you think you're going to have a rally. And it kind of drops a bunch, and it goes up here. Well, again, nobody can time the market perfectly. So the error bounds around the times when you feel like you're wrong. So here's the purchase price. There's some error bound where you say, I'm wrong. And there's some error bound where you're willing to say, I'm right. I'm still right. I'm wrong right now, but I'm going to be right. And, because if you make your error bound so small, you're going to stop yourself out every second. And nobody's that right. But if you make your error bound too big, you basically say, I don't care if this stock goes to $1, I'm still willing to buy it. And I'm still willing to call myself right. So over here, you start to think, okay, maybe am I wrong? Is it over? And then over here, you're breaking even and you say, I don't know, should I get out? I got my money back. But let's say you sell, let's say over here. This is a good trade, right? You bought here and kind of sold here. That's a trade. It's great. You like that. But then when it's up here, you start to ask yourself, why didn't I hold on to it? Well, that wasn't your goal. Your goal was to buy the stock and sell it for a higher price. And you did that. If your goal was to buy the stock and hold it for 10 years, then you didn't do that. You probably did do something wrong. But if you had a successful trade, especially if the IRR is good, if this time period was a short time period, you should be thrilled. What you want to avoid is losses, but not making enough gains is not a big deal. You might regret it a little bit, but it's not that big of a deal. So anyway, let's say, you shorted a stock. Let me pick. You shorted down here. And, you just feel like this is your error bound. And after enough errors, let's say you stack these up. Oops. I don't know, about after 2 or 3 of these, you could probably start feeling like, all right, I clearly messed this trade up. And I don't think you have to wait. I think you can just get out because you're going to have lots of these, right? And so you book this as a positive. So wins, losses. Okay, I got 1 win from this guy. Then you get out of this and you say, I have 1 loss. All right. And just keep doing this over the course of a year. You might have, at the end of the year, 91 wins and 81 losses. This is a really profitable trader. I think what you don't want to do is say, I need my wins column to be all wins. That's just not going to work. So I'm going to avoid taking the loss. I got 1 win here, but I still have this loss just waiting to be taken. And I had another win, maybe I had another loss, but I'm really refusing to capture my losses. So I keep adding them, maybe occasionally take a loss, but I've got like 5 or 6 losses down here that are still germinating, but I haven't taken them yet. So I want to keep waiting them out. But the problem is these are probably your worst trades because clearly you got something wrong, but you're going to let it stay in your portfolio and let it corrupt and kill you when clearly you got something wrong. You don't understand the fundamentals as well as you thought you did, or something like that. It's okay to have a few of these, but you also don't want this to be disproportionate. So if you have no winners you're waiting on and only losers you're waiting on, and then you only have winners you've booked and you don't have many losers you've booked, you probably want these to be symmetrical. So if you just are willing to book winners early and then not willing to book losers until they become winners, that's generally a really good recipe for losses. And in fact, you want to do the opposite. You kind of want to let your winners run and kill off your losers more often. But it's hard to do mentally, especially for very intelligent people. They tend to want to be proven right. It's hard to admit you're wrong sometimes. And admitting you're wrong is the most important thing there is in trading. Some people go even more extreme. And there's some people in this chat that like to mention this. there's some people that say that, look, the point of the trade is to make money. The second you're losing in the trade, you're wrong. I don't think that's right. I think that's too extreme of a viewpoint. But the point is still taken, which is, you're not trading for fun. You're not trading for intellectual stimulation. You're trading to make a profit. So you don't want the stock to go in the wrong direction, especially if you don't have super conviction. But even if you have super conviction, you certainly don't want the stock to get too far away from you. And that's just kind of the nature of trading. But stopping losses from growing is maybe is definitely just as important as keeping your winnings growing or finding winners. So, all right, we got quantum down a little bit now. Zrept is extremely high conviction for me. I have zero fears or doubts about this one. And the nice thing about longs is their position size goes down as they go down, so you can actually keep topping it up a little. But shorts kind of get bigger as they go up, so you get a little crowded. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Jeremy said it even better. If you think you're right about a stock, but nobody else thinks you're right, you don't get paid. So some people want to find something called a catalyst, but I think catalyst is basically a fake concept. Markets realize things over time. Sometimes markets realize things faster with certain kinds of news or like patterns of news. But I think like sometimes there is a hardcore catalyst, but it's often kind of not really true, in my opinion. If people know about a catalyst, then everyone knows about it, and it's not. It ceases to be a catalyst. Take losses, I think, is like the best thing you can do in trading. Just start to trick yourself into loving taking losses. Just taking small losses, you love it. Oh, that's great. I'm so happy I took this small loss. The human mind is not conditioned to think that way. That's why trading is hard. We are long Sarepta, yeah. I think time is in the catalyst, but markets are tools that get more accurate with time. The market at a nanosecond is not very accurate, but the market at 5 years is very accurate. It's very seldom that a stock will stay irrational for 5 years. It does happen. It has happened, but over 5, 10, 20 years, needless to say, there will be a but yeah, I think the goal, a lot of people don't understand this, which is really interesting. When you're trading, one of the main goals is to actually maximize the amount of trades you make, which sounds kind of crazy. But you try to maximize the amount of trades you can make while you're maximizing a few other things. You're trying to maximize, your turnover or the amount of trades you're making. But of course, you're also trying to maximize the number of times you're right. And then you're trying to maximize kind of your profit when you do win and your losses when you do lose. You're trying to minimize the losses and maximize the profit. So you're kind of what your slugging ratio is, if you will. When you do get the hit, do you get a big hit, or are you just taking a small, quick profit? And when you do get a loss, are you getting smoked, or are you taking a small stop loss? Because you could have a 90% win rate, but if this is like I make 1K when I win and I lose 100K when I lose, that 90% win rate doesn't help you very much. And then here, as long as all else being equal, you want your turnover to be as fast as possible, and you want to make 10 trades a day, or do you want to make 1,000 trades a day? Well, if the other two parts of the triangle are in good shape, you kind of want to make 1,000 trades a day. If you can not hurt this, right? Nobody has a 90% win ratio other than maybe Buffett, because he makes 10 trades a year, if that. Let's say you have a 60% win rate. Maybe from going 10 to 1,000 trades a day, you might lower your win rate to 51%. And you just have to think about, well, does that help me or hurt me? At 60% win rate, maybe your P&L looks like this. Maybe you make $5,000 on trades you win at, and you lose $6,000 on trades you lose at. So if you're making 10 trades a day, that means you're making $50,000 on your longs. Well, you're actually making $60,000 on your longs. You make 6 winning trades and 4 losing trades, right? 6 times 5K is actually 30,000. Okay. And this is on average. And then your 4 trades you lost money on, you're losing 24K. So your net profit 6K every day. That's a pretty good trader. 6,000 a day is around 1.2 million a year of P&L. This is great. So the question is, how does this trader make more money? Well, he can either up his win ratio. He can try to lose less money when he does lose, or make more money when he does win. Or he can trade more. So if he could add a 0 to all of this, he would actually go up to 300K, 240K. The problem with adding a 0 is the trade quality will probably suffer. And this is a lot more interesting, right? This is a $6 million P&L a year. Actually more, it's like 12 million. This is almost a professional level P&L. So, but the problem is, if you say you need to do 10 times more trades than you're doing before, you're going to say, well, I could do that, but it's going to look a lot more random. And we could do that math. So let's say, at 51%, it's, I don't know, 5K versus 5,500 in losses. And now again, we have 1,000 trades a day. So 510 are winners, 490 are losers. I'm making 5K for these. I'm losing 5,500 for these. What's my P&L? This may be negative, right? This is 2.55 million a day in profits. This is like a quant bot. And this is 2695. You'd be out of business very quickly. So you'd say, I know my trade quality would drop so much that I don't want to do this. I would lose 100 grand a day. Huge losses, catastrophic losses. So maybe it would be 53%. I don't know. You can set the break evens for what you could profit on, but you can think about doing this math for yourself. That makes no sense, Martin. So I learned this from maybe the best trader of all time. So maybe you can explain to me what you don't understand. But you want to maximize turnover, you want to maximize win rate, and you want to maximize slug rate ratio. All else being equal. They all impinge on each other, obviously.